Hello and welcome back. In the short lecture, we will be learning about Azure AD Identity Protection. In short, we also called AADIP. Azure Identity Protection is administrators' a toolbox to prevent and detect, and for the remediation purpose, it will be used for the risky users within your organization. It will closely monitor every logon activity for their identity compromises using numerous detections. So when we talk about those detections, it will be use all these detections starting from heuristics or machine learning, or they can come from a partner products also for the detection mechanisms. And when you see a user sign in as a risk, it will be considered two types basically. One would be the user sign in risk, in other one would be the sign in risk. So it is actually differentiating here, one with the user risk, other one is the sign-in risk. So when we talk about the user risk, probably an identity is completely compromised. When we talk about sign-in risk, it could be probably a sign-in is compromised. So when we look at here the sign-in risk, we can classify in two different ways. One would be the real time. So that means when a user try to log in, that's called real time. So real time based on only detections. The other one would be the aggregated. So if I take a simple example here, real time sign in, for example, a user all the time used to log in from a location called US California. Now he's trying to log in from Australia altogether. So now we wanted to challenge the user to prove his identity. So that's where the sign in risk comes. So that's called real time. So whereas the aggregated is, it will actually checks the last few of the sign in of sign-in activities and the locations. Based on that, it will come up with a score with the aggregated based, and then it will allow for the users for the sign-in purpose. So these are the risks are shown as a high and medium or low in your identity protection manager console, or in the Azure portal. So customers can use these risks to set, and you can apply automated remediation policies. For example, let's say user policy or a sign-in policy. We can apply, for example, user is trying to sign in, or maybe user policy is a separate we can apply, or the sign-in policy can be applied. These responses for your entire organizations in a multiple ways. So if we look at those benefits of the risk policies, are the first one would be the balance security and productivity. For example, all sign-ins are not challenged within your multi-factor authentication, because some of the securities we wanted to ensure that the security is balanced along with the productivity. The reason being, if we keep on challenging the users for the multi-factor authentication to prove them, that itself gets compromised. So we need to only challenge if it is a risk is associated with that sign-in option for that user. So the number two would be the reduced time to respond after a compromise. So the number three is the reduced to getting the calls from the help desk, so that you are controlling your cost management also with the automated policies that you can configure, instead of help desk to manually do or prevent perform some kind of actions. Instead of that, you can configure your policies to automatically remediate those risks. Let's say if a user is trying to coming from, as we said earlier, if a user regularly coming from United States California location, if user try to log in as all of a sudden in the next day from Australia, it will be prompted as the MFA definitely. And the next minute the user comes from maybe China, and the next minute maybe he's coming from different locations. So that indicates for us as the high risk. So in that situation, automatically we can block the access, or we can ask the user to reset it, the password, or maybe a disable for some time. So these actions should be automatically done. That's called the time to respond, as well as the reducing the cost on your help desk. And And all these actions are fully automated, so you no need to do any of these actions. So most of the admin job is completely made easy. So if you see here, the user interface gives the options for you for a simplified risks for the admins. When I say that, you can easily identify uh, by clicking on the risks type and the risks, you get that automated events which are showing as the risk, and you can furthermore you can filter them automatically, and then you can apply the action also. And all these are integrated directly within your sign-in report. So if you remember, if you want to know view the reports, normally you have to go to the sign in option and filter with the user, so that's no more needed now. The reason being, uh, the only risk events will be populated within your user interface for the identity management console. So that's a great flexibility for any of the IT admin to view the required specific events. Let's think in other way. You may have a Windows server. This is not relevant to the identity management, but think about it. You have thousands of events, but as a Windows admin, if you wanna search for a specific event, it takes a lot of time and you have to go through it. Finally, you will be after spending so many hours, so much time after spending, you would be identifying those events, and you will make a filter to view only those events. But in this case, similar work will be done automatically with the machine learning, and it will be visible for you in a reporting console. And also risk insights, it will give you the recommendation. Let's say if the user um, his ID is compromised, it gives you that information, why and what happened, why this user is treated as a risk. All this information will be shown right in the console, and you can directly take action. Not just the one event, you can take on multiple events also with a single right click option. So that's the great flexibility as a great user interface what you have with the identity management. And now with the immediate protection with the risk feedback, you can also give the feedback if you are treating that as a whitelist, or you want to take some action. You can give there then and there a right immediately a feedback. Also you can also perform actions like filtering, sorting, bulk actions, as we talked earlier. All these actions can be done right from one console, so it's easy. Now let's check the flow, how it actually works. This is the flow. Think that this is a user trying to use his user ID and password to authenticate with your Azure Active Directory. As we talked earlier, your Azure AD identity protection will apply or will be integrated with your Azure directory. That means it will apply for all users, no matter what is the user account. So whatever the user account is trying to sign in, so then what would happen is it will be calculated completely real time with the sign in risk, and it will give you some score. So internally you no need to worry about that scoring, and this is fully automated. And then you get that real-time sign-in risk level will be assessed, and then uh, this is a sign-in risk. Now this is a user risk. So what happens is this sign-in risk will be monitor or will be calculated against to the user risk also. Then it will check for any of the existing user level based any of the risk. Let's say this user is frequently logging from a different unknown sources, or maybe he's a genuine user, always try to log in from home as well as from maybe office or sometimes from a coffee shop, not more than 3 different locations. In that case, it knows that these are the trusted IPs or trusted locations where user can log in. So he will be allowing for the access. If not, what would happen is it would, once we get this code, actually it goes to the identity protection policies where we configure automated action to be taken on a real time. So all these days before Azure AD identity protection, we used to work maybe post sign in. we need to take the action, or we might be doing the actions on the post sign in. But with the identity protection, it's a real time. We haven't granted the authentication yet for the required resources. What we are trying to do is uh, we are still trying to understand the risk and the sign-in of that risk, as well as the user sign-in risk levels, so that levels will be handed over to identity protection policies. So the policies will be automatically configured and it will be available for us. So as a scenario one, if there is no user risk, there's no sign-in level risk, and it meets the threshold. So when we say threshold, the risk will be, as we talked earlier, you have a low and medium and high. So if you configure your policies, anything is the medium and above, uh, as treated as the risk high, then this goes to the scenario 2. But if scenario 1 is the treated as the medium and low below, then it will be allowed for the user will assign, I mean the sign in process will be without challenging your MFA, it can allowed. Whereas if the scenario 2 comes, the user risk level meets the identity protection, then this will be challenged to change the password, or maybe user account will be blocked, or maybe it will be challenged with the multi-factor authentication. So these things will be available within your identity protection policies. So based on that action, either the sign-in will be blocked, or it will prompt for the changing password, or maybe disabled for some time, or MFA will be challenged. So this is how the workflow will work. Now let's talk about other way of structure, like user, risky user, sign in, and then the disk detection will be considered as the risk level 1, 2, 3, 4, all that. A kind of ranking will be given. Now let's also talk about the product-wide alignment. So how it happens, like you do have the policies, you also have the reports, and public APIs also available where you can integrate with the help of these sign-in APIs, which are available within the Microsoft Azure Identity Protection. And also you have the enhanced machine learning mechanism. So all these will be calculated at the user risk level, sign-in risk level, and then it will be calculated the value of the risk. And to configure this, these are the next two slides, or from the direct Microsoft documentation. You can refer the documentation. So if you are trying to work with identity protection, then you might need to have at least these are the roles, like global admin permission, or security admin, or security operator, or security reader, so that you can do all the respected actions can be done. For example, security admin and global admin can perform almost everything, and what they cannot do except the reset password for a user. But the security operators can reset the password for a user, as well as they can also configure the challenging policies, and they can change the policies. They can configure the alerts so that you can get the automated email for the IT admin or the security team. All that can be done if you have the permissions with the security operator. And the security reader is, he can view all the identity protection reports and the overview complete blade, and he can configure, change policies. He can do almost all the things which are available with the security operator, and also he can give feedback on detections. And now it's a time for understanding the licensing. So I would put it in a simple way: if you want entire suite of identity protection, then go for Azure Premium 2 license, because on P1 license you don't get it much. All the basic information, for example, security reports, or security reports based on the risky users, or sign in, or security reports for the risk detection mechanisms, all will be very, very limited. And also these two also you're getting actually from Azure AD free, basic free options also. So you don't need to especially have a P1. So there's no use if you use the P1. Instead, if you go for the P2, for those users, it will be really benefit. It gives the benefit for the risky users. So you can go for the Azure Premium AD. This is one of the question even in the AZ 500 exam. I hope this lecture gave you a great overview on Azure AD identity protection. In the next lecture, we will be working more with the demo and the configuration, and we will work with those risky events, all that within this flow, whatever it was showing here. Thank you for watching this. I'll catch you in the next lecture.